Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Had a chance to sit down and watch the orange and white game for a second time this morning. Look, it's hard. It's so hard to take everything in when we do those watch parties. They're fun, and I appreciate you guys showing up, hanging out with us, had a good time. It's just hard to keep the conversation flowing on air, be able to interact with the live chat, and still watch and soak in the game. So I sat down, watched it a second time. Obviously, the hot topic going into the scrimmage was the quarterback competition. And now as we head into the summer and then into fall camp, we will still continue to talk about the quarterback competition. But as always, guys, do me a favor. Go ahead and smash that like button. It's just below the video here. Just press that little thumbs up. Also, if you're new here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that bell for notifications so you don't miss out when we go live or when we drop new content. I guess first and foremost, what I want to say after rewatching the game, this offense is going to be fun. Everything that we thought, everything that we had heard is true. They go fast. They have an opportunity to wear down the defense if they're able to move the ball, get first downs, but they also take shots downfield. They took a lot of shots downfield yesterday, which is fun to see, connected on a lot of those shots. They've got a lot of weapons. They have a lot of weapons. I know some people out there think that this football team is going to struggle. They look at last year. They look at history over the last 15 years. They think this team is going to struggle, and they could. You know, we talked a little bit during the live stream yesterday of what we thought this team could do as far as wins and losses. I think they have the ability to win some games because, like I said, they have weapons. They have weapons in that wide receiver room. They've got a lot of good running backs. Even the tight ends. The tight ends showed up a lot yesterday, which I like to see. But I thought it was an interesting little stat that they showed. Points per game the last 3 years. UCF, Josh Heupel offense, 43.2 points per game in 2018. Tennessee, 22.8. 2019, 43.4 points per game to 24.2. And then the dreaded season last year, UCF averaged 42.2 points per game to Tennessee's 21.5. So I think, you know, the defense, take it how you want with the scrimmage yesterday. Obviously, it's good on good. So is the defense that bad? Is the offense that good? I think it's a combination of both. Obviously, there's some different personnel matchups going on. You know, it's Hooker out there with the ones, who's on defense at the time. A lot of things you can take into it. But let's hear what Coach Josh Heupel had to say in yesterday's press conference about this quarterback competition.
It's wide open. I've been through enough quarterback battles as a player or as a coach to know that there's so much time as you leave spring ball. We've had 15 practices. We're going to have a lot more than that when we get to training camp. But they get a chance to sit back now and kind of redigest everything that's gone on this spring. Get a chance to go through some installs this summer. They get a chance to coach it, own it a little bit on their own. They get a chance to learn from the mistakes, and they have an opportunity to come back a much better and different football player by the time that they get to training camp. You got to allow your players to grow through this offseason. I think that's important at the quarterback position, but it's true everywhere. And you got to judge players for who they are today, not where they were yesterday. You got to give kids an opportunity to make that movement during the June and July process.
This quarterback competition is wide open. Let's take a look at the quarterbacks. Just my thoughts, opinions on the three. Maurer was trotted out there first, and he struggled. Look, he struggled his first series, goes 3 and out, comes back in his second series and hits Jalen Hyatt in stride for 45 yards. But then he gets down in the red zone, gets hit for intentional grounding. You know, it's an ongoing story with Brian Maurer is consistency. He didn't turn the ball over yesterday. That's a positive. But showed a little spark in the second quarter, rolling out, making just absolutely ripped it to Jack Janzik for 74 yards, throwing on the run. Again, he shows moments of flash, but then follows that up with inconsistency, turning the ball over. Again, good to see that he didn't do that yesterday. He did throw into traffic a couple of times. But overall, Maurer looked like what I expected him to look like. Let's talk about Hendon Hooker, because he didn't look like I expected him to look like. He had a couple of bad throws. He made mistakes that you don't expect from a veteran. Like something as basic as not letting a guy get set before snapping the ball. And then obviously, of course, the pick six. Watching it live on air yesterday, I didn't see that play live, so I wasn't, 100% certain. But when I go back and rewatch it, just a bad throw, way late on the throw. It was a nice play by Warren Burrell to break on the ball there and get a pick six. But again, we go back to what we've heard all spring long about Hendon Hooker and how he is Mr. Consistent, that he doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over. He may not flash or wow you, but he doesn't make mistakes. And that was not the case yesterday. So it's cause for concern. But again, it's one scrimmage. He also did make a couple of nice plays with his feet, including a scramble for a touchdown. And something you got to remember too on the plays he made running the football is in the orange and white game. He doesn't have to be tackled. They just get a hand on him and the play's blown dead. So those could have gone for a little bit more yardage than they actually did. He also made some nice throws on the last drive of the game, including the touchdown to Cedric Tillman in the back of the end zone. Just absolutely well-thrown ball. Great catch by Tillman. Now let's talk about the guy that everybody is talking about today, and that is Mr. Harrison Bailey. Just dropped an absolute dime to Jack Janzik, 73-yard touchdown early in the game. Very next possession, he goes out there, back-to-back plays, 52 yards and 20 yards to Velus Jones for a touchdown. A couple of blown coverages, and that's something somebody in the private group, our Talkin VAWLS private group on Facebook, was talking about, which, speaking of the group, I encourage you to check it out. Just go to Facebook, search Talkin VAWLS. Our page will pop up. You can give that a like, but also the private group. It's a place where we can interact with you guys. And one of the questions in there today is, is this just cause for concern when it comes to the defense, or is Harrison Bailey that good? Is this offense that good? Obviously, it's a little bit of both. But the thing is, when you have a blown coverage or even a couple of blown coverages, when Harrison Bailey was out there at quarterback, he's still putting the ball on the numbers. When the opportunity is there, he put the ball where it needed to be, and they went and scored. That's what you do. Look at last year. Look at last year's orange and white game. That offense could not consistently move the ball. Same defense. The defense was atrocious last year. But when it was good on good, Tennessee still could not move the ball. They scored a lot of points yesterday. A lot of points. Harrison Bailey also did a good job with his feet, I thought. He moved well in the pocket. Something I said about him last year when he did get the opportunity to play, he just looks poised and controlled in the pocket. He's almost deceiving the way he can move around, extend plays. He's not the most athletic guy. He's not a dual threat guy, but he can extend plays. The thing about this quarterback competition, it is still wide open. We're talking about spring. We're talking about one scrimmage. A week ago during the open practice, nobody really looked good or stood out. Yesterday, obviously, Harrison Bailey stood out. He looked like the guy. He looked like QB1. But this thing is going to go deep into fall camp. You can say that Josh Heupel, it's coach speak, and that whatever. This thing is going to go deep into fall camp. I think it may even go into the first couple of games of the season. I hope it doesn't go past that Florida game. I hope Tennessee goes into Florida 3-0, and we know who the quarterback is for this football team. Where does Caden Salter fit into this thing? True freshman, a guy who has all the potential in the world, a guy we were all excited about, a guy that would have been fun to watch in this spring game. But instead, goes and gets suspended, hasn't stepped foot on the practice field yet. And let's go back and look at Harrison Bailey last year. He had to miss spring ball because of COVID. And then all we heard all season long was that he wasn't ready. And I know it's a different coaching staff, but it's still the same game. And as a true freshman, you need to go through spring camp. I just don't see Caden Salter being competitive in this race for the QB1. I just don't see it. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. And maybe by the end of the year, Caden Salter can find a way to get on the field. But I think it hurts that he didn't get that opportunity to go through spring practice. Where does Joe Milton fit into this thing? Joe Milton in Knoxville yesterday for the orange and white game. His name is in the student directory in Knoxville. Rumors that he's been in town for a couple of months, which is, I don't know how accurate that is, kind of blows my mind. But where does Joe Milton fit into this thing? Is he going to have an opportunity to come here and compete for that starting job? It's going to be interesting. Leave me a comment, guys. I know what most of you are going to say. Most of you are going to say, I told you so. I told you Harrison Bailey was the guy. I told you he could throw it down the field, Boogie. I told you Harrison Bailey is QB1. He looked great. He looks great. If Harrison Bailey can find a way to stay consistent, then he very well could be the guy. I think he's going to have an opportunity. He's not going to go away. He's not going to go away. He's going to keep competing week in and week out. Who's going to put in the work over the summer? Who's going to get in the playbook? Who's going to study? Who's going to be a student of the game? Like I said, it's going to be interesting. Leave me a comment, guys. Let me know what your thoughts were of the orange and white game. Let me know what your thoughts are on this quarterback race. Is Harrison Bailey just going to run away with this thing? I think some of you already believe that to be the case. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you have not done so yet, please do hit that thumbs up on the way out the door. Getting ready to watch the baseball team in the rubber game. 1-1 against Texas A&M yesterday in the doubleheader. I'll be dropping coverage of that later today. But again, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
Poets sat in our chains, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken past this inundated orb that we draw home, and it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive.